Hey, what are you doing? Huh? I never said I'd give you a ride. What do you mean? You're gonna walk home for 2 hours. What? Your attitude's been getting on my nerves lately. I'll tell Mom and Dad you had some errands or something. You're walking home, Tom said, laughing mockingly. Is he trying to harass me and push me over the edge? 2 hours? What are you talking about? My house is a 10-minute walk from here. I moved into that high-rise condo. My name is Kelly, a 35-year-old housewife. My husband Tom and I have been married for 5 years. We met through music. I was working as a pianist, and Tom was a music producer. One day, I got the chance to participate as a pianist in the recording of an album he was producing. When we first met, Tom had a gentle and kind smile. Every time I finished playing the piano in the recording studio, he would praise me, saying, "That was amazing." That's exactly what I was looking for. After the work was done, he asked, "If you don't mind, would you like to grab a bite to eat?" I was a little nervous, but I replied, "Yes, I'd love to." Over dinner, Tom passionately talked about his love for music. "I want to move people's hearts with music. Someday, I want the music I produce to be loved all over the world." His eyes sparkled as he spoke about his passion. Drawn to that passion, I shared my own feelings about music with him. We had an endless conversation and spent a very enjoyable time together. A few weeks later, Tom contacted me again. "Kelly, your performance the other day was truly wonderful. Actually, I have something I'd like to discuss with you again. This time it's not work-related, it's personal." His words made my heart skip a beat. "Oh, what is it?" When I asked, he said, "Actually, I'd like to see you again, Kelly. I'd love to talk more on a personal level." I was a bit surprised but happy at his words, and I replied, "Of course, I enjoyed talking with you too, Tom." On the day we went out for dinner again, Tom shared stories about his past and his family. He spoke openly about many things, and I felt a sense of closeness and shared my own stories with him. Because of that, I felt like the distance between us had significantly decreased. After that, Tom said, "Kelly, can we meet more often? Honestly, I'm attracted to you." I was genuinely happy and replied, "I feel the same way." And so, we officially started dating. After we started dating, we had many wonderful days together. Tom was sincere both in his work and with me, and I felt truly secure when I was with him. However, we did have one big fight. One day, Tom was so busy with work that he forgot about our plans, and I exploded with anger. "You're always working. You said you cherished our time together." Crying before I realized it, I vented my frustration. Tom must have realized it was bad and apologized with a serious look on his face. "I'm sorry, Kelly, I'm really sorry. I'll be more careful from now on." After that, he really made an effort to cherish our time together. Then one day, a year after we started dating, Tom suddenly got down on one knee and proposed, "Kelly, will you marry me?" I was filled with surprise and joy and answered, "Yes, of course." And so, we decided to get married. Before our marriage, my days with Tom were truly enjoyable and happy. He was always kind and respected my opinions. During our dates, he always put me first, taking me to my favorite restaurants and places. If there was a problem, he would listen seriously and work with me to find a solution. We had one fight, but after that, he was truly perfect, an ideal partner. Our wedding was just like him, making sure all my wishes were fulfilled. It was a small ceremony, but the day spent with family and friends became an unforgettable memory for us. Tom promised, "I'll keep making you happy, Kelly." Our newlywed life was fun and happy. However, gradually, Tom's attitude began to change. At first, it was minor things. When I voiced an opinion, he increasingly brushed it off, saying, "Kelly, you don't get it." I thought it was due to his work stress, so I didn't mind at first. However, that attitude gradually escalated. He started criticizing my housework, saying, "Why can't you do such simple things," in a high-handed manner. What happened to him? Did I do something to upset him? Even when he came home from work, he became more cold towards me, barely responding when I asked, "How was your day?" One day, when I was about to go out to keep an appointment with a friend, he said, "If you have time to waste on such things, you should take care of the house properly." Shocked by his words, I left without saying anything. I work too, and I do the housework on top of that. In a dual-income household, the husband should do housework too. Why am I the only one being blamed? Even after that, his domineering attitude continued. When I made a suggestion, he increasingly responded with, "I'll decide, so don't butt in." Where did the kind Tom go? Every day, I began to worry about my relationship with my husband. Still, there were happy moments between us. There were days when he was kind like before, and each time I hoped he might return to the old Tom. But that hope was repeatedly betrayed, and gradually, I grew weary. The thought of divorce crossed my mind at times. But since we got married, I want to get along well and make our marriage work. Divorce would be easy, so I wanted to work on improving our relationship until I was satisfied. Even after my relationship with Tom became strained, my relationship with my in-laws remained very good. My mother-in-law and father-in-law always welcomed me warmly. Unlike Tom, they respected my opinions and feelings. From the moment we announced our engagement, they were kind, and I wanted to become family with them. Especially my mother-in-law, who encouraged me whenever I asked for advice about housework or cooking, saying, "Kelly, you're really doing your best. I'll always come to help, so let me know if you need anything." My mother-in-law was also good at cooking, and sometimes we attended cooking classes together or tried new recipes. Additionally, my father-in-law often listened to me and frequently praised me, saying, "Kelly, you're really a great daughter-in-law." One day, when my in-laws came to visit us, I was a bit nervous. I was worried that Tom's high-handed attitude might show in front of them. However, in front of his parents, he played the role of a good son. So, my in-laws didn't notice anything and treated me kindly as usual. "How are you, Kelly?" When my mother-in-law asked, I answered honestly. "Actually, I'm a bit tired. But I'm really looking forward to cooking with you, Mom." She smiled and said, "That's good to hear. But don't push yourself too hard." My father-in-law also said, "Kelly, we know you're doing your best. If there's anything troubling you, don't hesitate to tell us." Their kind words gave me some relief. The good relationship with my in-laws was a great support for me. Their presence gave me the courage to face the issues with Tom little by little. I haven't been able to talk to them about it yet, but their presence is a source of comfort for me. I want to cherish my relationship with them while also working to improve my relationship with Tom. It's because of my warm relationship with them that I can look forward to the future with optimism. However, my relationship with Tom did not improve easily. In front of his parents, Tom's attitude changed completely. He acted like a different person, behaving as a kind and filial son. "Mom, Dad, how have you been? I bought your favorite snacks," he said with a kind smile. Seeing Tom like that, my in-laws would happily say that he was really a good son. Hearing that, Tom would say, "Thanks, Mom. Kelly also works hard, and she helps me a lot." But that's only how he acts in front of his parents. He never praises me otherwise. After his parents leave, Tom's attitude changes abruptly. As soon as the door closes, he sighs and looks down at me coldly. "Today's food was too bland, wasn't it? Taste it properly next time. Don't serve my parents bad food. And make sure to clean the house better. What if the dust makes my mom and dad cough?" His smile from a moment ago vanished, and he continued to glare at me and complain. All I could say was, "I'm sorry. I'll be more careful next time." He looked satisfied and urged, "Put in more effort." I felt confused and hurt by the gap between his kindness in front of his parents and his harshness towards me. I thought about talking to my in-laws about him, but he was so kind in front of them that it would lack credibility. What should I do? I was very troubled. In the midst of this, I started to feel changes in my body. I got tired easily and had no appetite. Is this because of stress? But I felt too sick. Worried, I went to the hospital and the doctor told me something surprising. Congratulations! You're pregnant! At that moment, joy and anxiety flooded over me. I took some time at a cafe to calm down, then went home, determined to tell Tom. I couldn't predict his reaction, but I wanted to cherish this new life we created. I didn't have the courage to tell him during dinner, so I took deep breaths while washing the dishes to prepare myself. Then, I called out, "Tom, I need to talk to you." He, unusually, turned off the TV and faced me. "What's up?" He seemed to sense from my demeanor that it was something important. As he stared at me intently, I answered, feeling a bit nervous. "I'm pregnant. We're having a baby." After a moment of silence, Tom's face showed a mix of surprise and joy. "What? Really? A baby?" He confirmed several times in disbelief. "Yes, the doctor told me." Then he suddenly hugged me. "That's great! I'm so happy, Kelly. It feels like a dream that we're having a baby." "Yeah, it really is great." I felt relieved seeing my husband smile. This pregnancy might be a chance to improve our relationship. Tom immediately called his parents to share the news. My mother-in-law tearfully said, "That's wonderful news, Kelly, Tom, congratulations." My father-in-law also expressed his joy. It's like a dream to have a grandchild. Since learning about the pregnancy, Tom's attitude began to change little by little. He started to take care of me and help with the housework. "Kelly, take a break today. I'll make dinner." Hearing him say that, I was surprised but also pleased by the change. However, not everything went smoothly. Tom's high-handed attitude didn't completely disappear, and when he got stressed, he would still say harsh words to me. "Just because you're pregnant, don't slack off. Be more responsible for the baby." His cold words made me anxious. Even so, with the support of my in-laws and Tom's changing attitude, I managed to give birth safely. We had a beautiful baby girl. Tom and I named her Lisa. After that, we spent our days nurturing this new life. My mother-in-law frequently visited and would say, "Let me know if there's anything I can help with," while my father-in-law always kindly reminded me, "Don't overdo it, Kelly." The major change of having a baby made me hope that I could gradually improve my relationship with Tom. He was relatively kind during my pregnancy, and I thought he would return to being the kind Tom through child-rearing. Tom was also actively involved in child-rearing and treated me kindly. When the baby was just born and I was exhausted at night, he would say, "Kelly, I'll take care of her tonight. You rest." He actively helped with changing diapers and feeding her. Every time he saw the baby's smile, Tom looked happy. "Just having this child makes me feel like we can overcome any hardship." I wholeheartedly agreed with his words. We deepened our bond as a family, centered around our new life. As time passed, Tom's attitude began to change again. Maybe due to increased work stress, he'd come home and collapse on the couch, saying, "I'm too tired to do anything today." Gradually, his high-handed words returned. "Kelly, take better care of Lisa. Make sure you're handling things even when I'm not around. Look, she's crying. Soothe her properly." Tom started leaving everything to me. Furthermore, Tom started coming home later and later. At first, he excused it by saying work was busy, but eventually, he stopped giving any reason at all. I spent my days alone, taking care of our daughter and waiting for him to come home. One night, amidst all this, our daughter said "Daddy" for the first time. I was thrilled and wanted to share that moment with Tom. But he came home late again and seemed annoyed by my attempt to talk. "Today, Lisa said Daddy for the first time. I really wanted you to hear it yourself." When I told him this, he coldly responded, "I see. But I'm tired," and then went to the bedroom. He gradually distanced himself from our daughter and showed a cold attitude towards me. "Hey, why is it so messy in here? It's my day off, but I can't relax. Go somewhere with Lisa. Each time he spoke to me harshly, my chest tightened. At home, he was overbearing, but at his parents' house, his attitude changed completely. He still pretended to be someone else in front of his parents. He would act like the ideal husband and father, pretending to be a devoted family man and a good son, fooling his parents. For example, one day, when we arrived at his parents' house, Tom picked up Lisa and spoke to her in a gentle voice, "Come here. Daddy's here. Let's play a lot today." My mother-in-law, beaming, said, "Oh my, you're so good with a kid." My father-in-law praised him too, "Tom, you're a great father." Usually, I put a lot of burden on Kelly, so I have to do my best on my days off. How could he lie so smoothly? When we got home, Tom reverted to his cold and strict self. He yelled at me for small things and always had a frown on his face. His performance at his parents' house was convincing, and they were proud of him. His relatives also spoke highly of him, and every time I heard such praise, it hurt my heart. It was painful knowing that I was the only one who knew his true nature. That meant I couldn't talk to anyone about it. Amid all this, I began to grow increasingly suspicious of Tom's behavior. He started spending more weekends away, claiming he had to work. Feeling something was off, but having no proof, I spent my days in anxiety. One day, while Tom was in the shower, I noticed a notification pop up on his phone. Normally, I wouldn't look, but this time I couldn't help it. When I looked at the screen, I saw a message that read, "About our upcoming trip, there's a store I want to visit." The sender's name was Hannah, a woman's name. After Tom got out of the shower, I casually asked, "Tom, you've been really busy with work lately. Are you okay?" "Yeah, we've got a lot of recording sessions. I want to finish quickly, but it's not going smoothly." He might not have been lying, but I couldn't fully believe him. And then his suspicious behavior continued. The most telling incident was when I found a woman's lipstick in his suit pocket. I was surprised and confronted Tom, but he made an excuse, saying, "Oh, that belongs to the female vocalist participating in the recording. She dropped it, and I need to return it to her next time." His excuse only deepened my suspicion. When I consulted a friend, she said, "Kelly, if you're so worried, why don't you talk to him?" But considering Tom's high-handed attitude, I didn't know how to bring it up. And thinking about our daughter, I couldn't confront him easily, so I continued to struggle alone. I considered talking to my in-laws, but it was hard to tell them the truth since they thought Tom was a good son. As the possibility of his betrayal became more real, my heart grew heavier. But I had to resolve it myself to protect my life with my daughter. I needed to live properly as a mother. Determined, I decided to gather evidence of his infidelity. Once I made up my mind, my love for him vanished. Even when he treated me badly, I had become numb to it, feeling like it was just the usual. Instead, my focus shifted to preparing for a divorce under better terms. During this time, my mother-in-law called. "Kelly, why don't we go on a family trip? Let's invite Tom too, and we can all refresh ourselves together." I heard her cheerful voice as she suggested it. I hesitated but thought it would be a good memory for my daughter. "I'd love to go," I answered. That night, I told Tom about my mother-in-law's suggestion, and he looked a bit troubled. "Actually, I have a business trip during that time. I can't make it. But your parents will be lonely without you. You and Lisa will be there. They'll enjoy spending time with their granddaughter. Have fun for me." I felt a bit suspicious. Was it really a business trip? Speaking of which, the word trip appeared in the messages between him and his mistress. Could they be going on a trip at the same time? Got it. Good luck with work, Tom. I swallowed my words without pressing further. As the travel date approached, my mother-in-law contacted me. "Kelly, are you ready for the trip?" "Yes, I'm looking forward to it," I replied. Our 3-year-old daughter, her eyes sparkling, said, "I'm excited to go on a trip with Grandma and Grandpa." On the day of the trip, Tom offered to drive us to the station, so we went to my in-laws' house to pick them up, and we all got into the car. We took a train to the airport and headed to the state where our destination, España, was located. My daughter was excited about her first airplane ride, and she looked so adorable. After we arrived at our destination, we did some sightseeing and then checked into the inn. Upon arrival at the Hot Spring Inn, my mother-in-law said, "Kelly, take it easy today. We'll look after Lisa." Her kindness made me feel a bit relieved and I relaxed. Having a good relationship with my in-laws was a great support for me. That night, while soaking in the hot spring, I had a chance to talk with my mother-in-law. "It's a shame that Tom couldn't join us, but I'm glad we can spend time together as a family like this. He seems to be really busy with work, so it can't be helped. But next time, I'm sure he'll be able to come with us." She continued to speak kind words. I felt a bit guilty about betraying her, but I had already made up my mind to divorce my husband. During the trip, my daughter played a lot with my in-laws, and I was able to truly relax for the first time in a while. Since this trip was for 3 days and 2 nights, we were able to enjoy sightseeing at a leisurely pace. Tom was supposed to pick us up at the airport, so we boarded the plane back. "Hey, Mom and Dad, did you have fun?" "Sorry, I couldn't join this time," Tom said with a smile. He really put on an act in front of his parents. "We had a great time. Thanks for your hard work. Let's go together next time." My in-laws responded with a smile. Tom picked up our luggage, loaded it into the car, and helped my in-laws and daughter get in. I was about to get in when he suddenly stopped me. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Huh? I never said I'd give you a ride." "What do you mean?" "You're gonna walk home for 2 hours." "What?" "Your attitude's been getting on my nerves lately. I'll tell Mom and Dad you had some errands or something. You're walking home," Tom said, laughing mockingly. Is he trying to harass me and push me over the edge? He was probably trying to drive me out for good and be with his mistress. But I won't fall for that. I'm already 1 step ahead of him. 2 hours? What are you talking about? My house is a 10-minute walk from here. I moved into that high-rise condo." "What?" Tom looked shocked. "What are you talking about? Moved? High-rise condo? Have you lost your mind?" My husband mocked my statement. Since we weren't getting into the car, my father-in-law got out, looking concerned. "Hey, what's going on? Is there a problem?" "Oh, sorry, Dad. Kelly said she has something to do and wanna walk home." "Really? Is that so?" "So, we'll say goodbye to Kelly here." Tom smiled as he explained to his father. Ignoring him, I responded. "Tom told me he wouldn't give me a ride and that I should walk home." "What?" "But I've already moved, and it's a 10-minute walk home." My father-in-law looked confused, not understanding what was happening. "Hey, what are you saying? You're confusing Dad." "Then let me prove that what I'm saying is true. I'll guide you, so please get the car." Tom was taken aback by my firm stance. But if this turns out to be a lie, I'll be really mad. "You've caused trouble not just for me, but for my parents too," he reluctantly agreed. Feeling sorry for my anxious in-laws, I directed my husband to the location and had him drive us there. "What? Here?" My husband was surprised when we arrived at the address. It was a newly built high-rise condo. "You really moved here?" "Yes, that's right. I have the key right here." "What?" My husband and in-laws were astonished. "Mommy, we're home." When my daughter said that, they were even more surprised. "What? You really live here?" "I told you, didn't I?" I unlocked the door and entered the condo. I invited my shocked husband and in-laws inside. They looked around the room uneasily. "Kelly, when did you buy this place? Tom didn't seem to know either, so why would you do such a thing?" "Yeah, it's weird to buy a condo without telling your husband." "What have you been doing with my money?" "Who said I used your money?" "You've been spending most of your income on your mistress." "What?" When I said that, my in-laws were shocked. What do you mean, a mistress? What are you talking about? I would never cheat. Kelly, what nonsense are you saying? Kelly, it's hard to believe that Tom would cheat. Yes, but I have proof here. I showed them the evidence gathered by a detective agency. The photos showed my husband and his mistress entering a hotel together, looking very intimate. What? What is this? My in-laws were shocked. My husband turned pale. There are also photos of their message exchanges. I continued to present the evidence one by one. Tom, what have you done? Wait, this is a mistake. I didn't do anything like this. Nowadays, fake images and fabrications can be made easily. You can pay professionals to create this stuff. Kelly is trying to make me look like the bad guy. Have I ever shown any signs of cheating based on my behavior and actions until now? Tom has always been a family-oriented, good man. That's right. My in-laws seemed unsure about what the truth was. Then, I took out a voice recorder and played the recordings of our daily life. There were numerous records of my husband verbally abusing me. This is about 6 months' worth of voice recordings, but even before that, he was saying terrible things to me. If you say all of this is fabricated, I have no way to argue against it, but creating this much audio would require an enormous amount of effort, right? This is undeniably the truth. I couldn't endure Tom's bullying and emotional abuse any longer, and when I found out about his affair, I decided to live independently with my daughter. By the way, this high-rise condo belongs to my father. I rent it from him and pay the rent properly. No way! My in-laws were shocked and speechless at the series of revelations. Tom, have you been deceiving us all this time? No, Mom, Dad, this is... Unable to make any excuses, he was at a loss for words. What you've done is unforgivable. Cheating, emotional abuse, neglecting our child, all of it is the worst. We're getting a divorce, and you will pay alimony and child support. Why? You can't just decide on a divorce by yourself. Enough. This is disgraceful. With all this evidence, do you still think you'll be forgiven? That's right, just divorce her already. You have no right to raise Lisa. Pressured by his parents, Tom hesitated. In the end, he signed the divorce papers I had prepared. My in-laws, having learned the truth, sided with me. Kelly, we're sorry. We didn't know anything and even invited you on family trips. It's okay. Lisa was happy, and we ended up having a good time without Tom. Please continue to be her grandparents. Thank you. We'll make sure Tom pays alimony and child support. My in-laws apologized. Later, they truly helped me, making Tom pay alimony and child support in a lump sum. They monitored Tom at home and deducted the alimony and child support from his salary, leaving him with only a small amount. Because of this, Tom couldn't lavish gifts on his mistress, who promptly left him. I still meet my in-laws occasionally with Lisa, and I've heard that Tom is shamed at work for his affair and has a tough time. My in-laws are thoroughly re-educating him, and he now spends his days meekly commuting between work and home, struggling all the while. By the way, because of the scandal, my husband's work requests have significantly decreased. He's now juggling multiple part-time jobs and is so physically exhausted that he doesn't even have the energy for leisure activities. But it's all his own fault, and he deserves it. Meanwhile, I'm living a calm and peaceful life in the high-rise condo, and my work as a pianist is going well. Recently, I've been getting more composition requests, and my income is steadily increasing. I want to have enough financial freedom so that I can support Lisa in whatever she wants to pursue in the future. With that in mind, I continue to work diligently on my tasks every day.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my 2nd year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children. With zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. Having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, what's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike. What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.